66 million years ago, a massive asteroid struck Earth, and in an instant, the age of dinosaurs ended. But here is the shocking truth: without this catastrophe, humankind might never have existed. The very next day, the planet was no longer familiar. The sun vanished behind a suffocating curtain of dust. Forests were plunged into endless darkness. The air was thick with sulfur. The food chain collapsed. The mighty giants who once ruled fell silent. And yet, while the giants perished, it was the smallest of creatures that endured. Rodents, insects, ancient birds, crocodiles, beings dismissed as insignificant, became the invisible survivors of life. They rewrote history. From the ashes, they opened a new era, where small mammals began to rise. And millions of years later, from their fragile beginnings, humans emerged. This is not just the story of the dinosaurs' end. It is the story of Earth's rebirth, and the origins of us all. 66 million years ago, the moment of destiny had passed. A massive asteroid, nearly 10 kilometers wide, slammed into what is now the Yucatan Peninsula, carving out a colossal crater we know today as Chicxulub. In just seconds, it unleashed more energy than billions of nuclear bombs combined, shaking the entire planet to its core. Shock waves rippled outward, generating tsunamis hundreds of meters high that swallowed entire coastal regions. Within hours, vast forests erupted into uncontrollable infernos. Ash, toxic gases, and billions of rock fragments were hurled into the atmosphere, cloaking the planet beneath a suffocating veil. And then, the most terrifying consequence began: sunlight disappeared. Earth was plunged into what scientists call a nuclear winter. Temperatures dropped suddenly, and the world sank into endless darkness. Plants could no longer photosynthesize. Vegetation withered. Entire ecosystems collapsed, and the food chain began to crumble. In that choking darkness, dinosaurs, the rulers of the Earth for over 160 million years, roared in desperation. Some of the giants starved within days. Others lingered longer, but none could escape the fate awaiting them. Their reign, once eternal and unshakable, unraveled in mere weeks. The scene must have been apocalyptic. Ancient forests burned to blackened stumps. Valleys filled with the carcasses of dinosaurs, where the last survivors fought over scraps. Oceans churned violently, coral reefs bleached, and countless marine species vanished forever. Earth had become a planet of death. No sound echoed except the howling of the wind and the steady fall of ash. If a modern human were to stand there, they might believe life itself had been erased from this world. And yet, in the shadows of destruction, tiny sparks of survival remained. As darkness swallowed the land, small creatures found refuge. In deep burrows beneath the soil, in narrow cracks between rocks, life clung on. These were not the mighty giants, but the overlooked, the insects, the small mammals, the reptiles hiding in silence. Creatures that could never compete with the dinosaurs now became the toughest survivors of all. And so, in a bitter twist of fate, the extinction of the great dinosaurs opened the door to something new. But in that moment, the Earth was nothing but a haunted world, a dawn rising over silence. Over ash, over the ruins of the greatest rulers life had ever known. In the shadow of death, life endured. The asteroid had ended the age of giants. But in the smoldering ruins of the Cretaceous world, not everything perished. Among the ashes, in places where fire could not reach and hunger did not kill instantly, small survivors held on. The first survivors were the smallest of all, the insects. Ants, beetles, and cockroaches, creatures often dismissed as insignificant, found safety in the soil, in wood, in the tiniest of shelters. They needed little food, and their resilience allowed them to thrive where titans had fallen. Their buzzing world never truly ended, it merely changed form. Then there were the reptiles that had outlasted even the great dinosaurs, the crocodiles. For over 200 million years they had survived. And now they would again. Crocodiles did not need to chase prey across the land. They lurked in rivers and swamps, conserving energy. waiting patiently for what little life still stumbled to the water's edge. Their ability to remain hidden, motionless, and endure long periods without food made them masters of survival. Beneath the soil, small mammals stirred. Before the extinction, mammals lived in the shadows, rarely larger than a modern rat. They were not rulers but fugitives, scurrying beneath the feet of dinosaurs, feeding at night, hiding by day. When the giants vanished, these mammals inherited the earth. Their small size meant they required little food. Their fur protected them from the sudden cold. And most importantly, their ability to adapt, to eat plants, insects, or anything they could find, ensured their survival. Birds, too, endured, not all of them, but enough, descended from small feathered dinosaurs. The earliest birds could fly away from danger, nest in protected places, and feed on seeds that survived buried in soil. Seeds became lifeboats of nutrition, lying dormant in the ground while forests burned above. And when the skies cleared, these seeds sprouted again, feeding the birds that carried their lineage into the new world. The ocean, though devastated, also held pockets of survival. Sharks, ancient predators of the sea, endured the dark years. Their simple but efficient biology allowed them to persist where more specialized creatures died. Some fish species adapted to feed on the organic debris that rained into the ocean depths, keeping fragile ecosystems alive until sunlight returned. The pattern was clear. The survivors were not the strongest, nor the most fearsome. They were the adaptable, the resilient, the overlooked. And so, in the silence after the storm, Earth belonged not to the mighty tyrants, but to the small and the hidden. A world once ruled by thunderous roars was now carried forward by whispers, the scratch of tiny claws in the soil, the flutter of feathered wings, the slow glide of crocodiles beneath blackened waters. But survival was not enough. These creatures did not just live through the darkness, they would build the foundation of a new world. The mammals, no longer hunted by dinosaurs, spread into empty niches. Birds, the last true descendants of dinosaurs, took to the skies in growing numbers. Even the smallest plants, sprouting from seeds that had waited in the earth, began to reshape the land. The age of giants had ended, but the story of life was far from over. In fact, for the survivors, it was only just beginning. After darkness, there was finally light. Years turned to decades, then centuries. The ash and dust that had choked the atmosphere slowly settled, and the skies cleared once more. For the first time in a long age, the sun shone brightly on Earth again. A world of death was given a chance to live anew. On the blackened ground, scorched by fire and ash, the first sprouts emerged. They grew from seeds that had lain dormant in the soil during the long years of darkness. When sunlight returned, they stretched upward, green and defiant, beginning the slow restoration of life across the planet. Vegetation spread. Ferns and mosses were the first to reclaim the barren landscape, followed by flowering plants. In a matter of thousands of years, lands once littered with the remains of dinosaurs were blanketed in vibrant green. The rebirth of plants paved the way for animals. The small mammals that had once hidden in burrows and shadows now had the chance to thrive. With the great dinosaurs gone, new ecological niches lay open. Mammals diversified, some becoming insectivores, others herbivores, and still others small predators. Their bodies grew larger, their forms more varied. Some evolved into rodents, fast and prolific breeders. Others became small carnivores, preying on birds and reptiles. And over millions of years, these branches of life spread further, giving rise to entirely new lineages, including the distant ancestors of humankind. Birds also flourished. They filled the skies, evolving into countless shapes and sizes: seed-eaters, hunters, fishers. From their humble beginnings as feathered dinosaurs, birds became one of the most successful groups of animals to ever take flight. The oceans, too, healed. Coral reefs regenerated, plankton multiplied, and the foundation of marine ecosystems was rebuilt. Sharks, bony fish, sea turtles, and new species rose to prominence once again. Earth, once a wasteland of ash and silence, became a planet reborn. And the absence of the great dinosaurs created space for others to rise. But this rebirth was not a return to the past. The new world was different. No longer echoed the thunderous roars of Tyrannosaurus or the march of Triceratops. Instead, the air rang with birdsong, the rustle of rodents, the hum of insects. Power no longer belonged to giants, but to those who were flexible, clever, and adaptable. Earth had endured catastrophe and stood up once more. And life, resilient, unstoppable life, proved itself stronger than extinction. The age of dinosaurs had ended. But their story did not vanish completely. A piece of them still walks among us today. For the truth is this: not all dinosaurs died out. Their closest descendants, the birds, survived. Every pigeon in a city square. Every eagle soaring above mountains. Every sparrow singing in a garden is living proof of a dynasty that once ruled the earth. When we look at birds, we are looking at the last living dinosaurs. But the asteroid's impact left a legacy far greater than survival alone. It reshaped the course of life forever. With the giants gone, new lineages had the chance to rise. Mammals expanded, evolved, and diversified, eventually giving rise to primates, and ultimately, humans. Without that asteroid, without the end of the dinosaurs, we would not be here. The mass extinction 66 million years ago is a reminder of how fragile dominance truly is. For 160 million years, dinosaurs reigned supreme. They survived volcanic eruptions, climate shifts, and predators of every kind. Yet in a single day, their age was over. It is a sobering thought, no matter how powerful a species seems. Life on Earth is always at the mercy of change. And this leads us to the greatest lesson of all. Earth has faced 5 great mass extinctions, each one rewriting the story of life. The asteroid that ended the dinosaurs was only one chapter in a much larger saga. Catastrophe, destruction, renewal, these are the cycles of our planet. Today, humans stand as the dominant species. We build cities, reshape landscapes, and even reach beyond Earth into space. But the lesson of the dinosaurs whispers to us: nothing lasts forever. If another asteroid were to come, or if we push our own ecosystems beyond the edge, our reign could end just as suddenly. Yet there is hope in this story too. The dinosaurs' end shows that even in the darkest moments, life finds a way. The small survived, the overlooked endured, and from the ashes, an entirely new world was born. That is the legacy of the dinosaurs. Not just a tale of extinction, but a reminder of resilience, a warning and a promise. So when you look at a bird in flight, remember, it carries with it the echoes of T-Rex and Triceratops, the survivors of a cataclysm. And when you think of humanity's future, remember what the Earth has already endured. The asteroid did not end life. It transformed it. And perhaps, someday, another great test will come. The question is, when it does, will we be ready?